Hajj Institute. I hope everyone's Ramadan is going well, and so far you made enough progress and you're happy with yourself. If not, we've still got a week to go, so keep going, work hard, make the most of Ramadan. And if you can't take up the opportunity of Ramadan, then don't be sad. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is always there for you, so you'll have the whole of the next year to worship and to stay within the spirit of Ramadan, inshallah.
Inshallah.
You, as everybody knows, most of you know, that we have students from Al Minhaj Institute coming in from every week from Monday to Thursday between 4 to 5 p.m. You see different students, they come in, they talk about different topics like self-image, lack of confidence, and many other topics that have been discussed by my fellow friends as well. So when we were discussing what to do for this show, it was a difficult decision. It was a very tough decision because it's a final show for my group. It's the final show.
Yeah.
You won't see us again,
I mean,
unfortunately.
don't say that.
But in this show,
we will be around. Yeah, obviously in this show.
Inshallah. So just before I introduce the topic, I do want to introduce you to my guests, my beautiful sisters. So, Sister Aisha.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. How are you doing today?
Alhamdulillah, I'm fine.
How's Ramadan going?
It's going really well, but I'm kind of sad because it's coming to an end. And that just makes me sad because, you know, the whole spirit of Ramadan, the whole environment, and everyone's just like, Ramadan is a completely different feeling. And it's like my favorite time of the year. So my favorite time of the year is about to go. So obviously I have to be upset and sad. But hopefully we'll see it again, inshallah, in our lives.
Inshallah. And we have Sister Zavisha. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam, Baji. How are you?
I'm good, alhamdulillah. How's Ramadan going?
It's been going really well, alhamdulillah. I mean, I've been very, very sleep deprived.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's fine. I'd rather be sleep deprived than to, you know, give up Ramadan.
Yeah.
But I mean,
that's a big statement, but yeah.
But yeah, it's been going really well, alhamdulillah. And as Baji said, inshallah, we're alive next year to see it again.
Yeah, inshallah.
How's your Ramadan going and how are you?
Yeah, alhamdulillah, it's been really, really good. In the beginning I had exams, so obviously it was tough, but I think the past 1 week I've really enjoyed it.
I think this year, in fact last year as well, lots of students, they have exams and Ramadan is still there, so hopefully they get the blessings of Ramadan and do really well. But they've all been working very hard with exams and obviously with Ramadan as well.
Yeah, so without further ado, let's get into the topic.
Yeah.
So we did decide on education because we wanted to come up with a topic which will conclude everything that has been discussed so far within our show and any other groups as well, and a solution to all the problems that we have discussed and all the issues that are there within young adults or society and overall. So we decided to go with education because we personally, all of us, we did come to this conclusion together.
Yeah.
So all of us feel that if we could discuss education, because that is basically the solution to everything.
Yeah.
So let's start this off by the importance of education. Why do you guys think education is important? Why do you need to be educated? Why do you need to gain knowledge?
Just to add to what you were saying, why we chose this topic. So we were obviously, you know, thinking about what topic to. We were thinking about role models, and we were like education. We were a bit confused, but we ended up picking education because considering all the shows that we've done previously and all the other students, the shows that they've done. So for example, the first show that we did was lack of confidence.
Yeah.
So we, at the end of it, when we were giving tips on how to improve your confidence, it comes to a full circle, and you could tend to think that, you know, it's education. Education is the solution to everything, whether that's you struggling with people judging you, whether that's you struggling with your own self-image, what you think about yourself, all of these things, and how your parents treat you. I think that was a topic as well which was being discussed. So even how your parents treat you, your parents have to be, you know, they have to be educated in how to parent the kids, and I think that's why education is so important, and education affects all aspects of our lives, whether that's you know, a day-to-day basis or the big things, for example a job, which everyone works towards through education. And coming back to the question about why education is important, which I was obviously discussing right now as well, but one of the most obvious reason is because to become a productive member of society, you need to have education. There are so many jobs, for example doctors, lawyers, engineers, all of these jobs. To help out in society and to move society up and to develop it, you need education. Without education, you wouldn't have people wouldn't have the ability, they wouldn't be capable enough to go out there and, you know, if the doctor is not educated in the right way, for example, how are they going to look after the patients? They wouldn't be able to prescribe the right medicines. And if you go to like pharmacies, if the pharmacists are not educated, they would be giving wrong medicines. So in all the fields of life, all aspects of life, you need education. And similarly, in if you come to religion, you need education. If you have scholars and they have wrong information, they have wrong education, because education, some people think they're educated, but they're not really, they don't have the right education, but they think they have education. So if you come to scholars, if they have wrong information, or if they are not educated in the right way, or leaders are not educated in the right way, then obviously they'll be leading the whole group of people in the wrong direction. And we see examples of that. For example, you know, terrorism, how that put a big scar in Islam, and you know, it puts us in a wrong image, and creates a wrong image of all the Muslims, that, you know, Islam is somehow linked to terrorism. But those people who are painting that image, obviously they are not educated. They don't know about Islam. They haven't studied Islam the way it should have been studied, in the right way, in the accurate way. So education is important in every single aspect of our life, and it's one thing that's extremely needed to improve society, and is a solution to move forward and become a better person, to become a better society, to become a better ummah, if you think about religion. So education is extremely important in that sense.
Yeah, just adding on to that, if you look back into 1980s or 1970s, if you compare that time to this time right now, political wise or social wise, or even technological aspects of it, you see that we have improved. So obviously we have better technology now, we have better computers and everything, and that's because of education. We have gained that knowledge, and we've adapted in our lives, and hence we have developed this far. So,
definitely. And I think Baji picked up on a really important point about like education being, you know, something that's really necessary for societal improvement. But I think at the same time, it's really important for self-growth as well. Because, of course, education is necessary. I mean, if you want to take it in a very literal and extreme sense, then without education, we would have nothing. Like, we wouldn't know how to read. We wouldn't even, all this technology, everything, the fact that we're sitting here today and, you know, speaking, nothing would exist.
Wouldn't be possible.
You know, in a very extreme situation, that is, if education did not exist at all. But yeah, as I was saying about self-growth, I think it's really important for your personal benefit as well. And I think for me that comes before anything, before, you know, trying to think about improving society, or you know, benefiting a country as a civilian, or, you know, benefiting the deen, which of course we all aspire to do. But the most important thing is your own journey within, you know, your own self-growth, which is really important. And I think education is the key to that. So
so just knowing your own rights and wrongs, that's very important for you to like know what's right and what's wrong.
Because you have to make
decisions. Sorry, no, it's fine.
Because you have people around you, and, you know, you have relations around you, you have family members, and, you know, as young females, you know, we have a lot of relations around us, of course, and we have to, you know, if we are not educated, then how are we going to, you know, train our future generations? How are we going to benefit them? So in that sense, you know, if you're thinking ahead, then it's really important for us to be educated, for us to have that independence, that freedom, that you know, a voice, so that we can, you know, deliver that to future generations as well.
And I guess you only develop that confidence to have that voice through education. So if you're not educated, if you don't have the knowledge, then you wouldn't be confident enough.
Exactly. It gives you wisdom as well. It makes you more intellectual, because, you know, you understand the reasoning behind things, and once you begin to understand that, so I'll just use confidence as an example. I think it's a very psychological thing that we go through when, you know, we're scared or we're nervous to, you know, perform in front of someone. But if you understand the reasoning behind why you're doing it through education and through knowledge, I think you become that much more confident. So I mean, I hope that I've made the point clear.
And also gaining knowledge, it just makes you stronger as a person.
It does.
You feel the strength within yourself, and you feel like you know, you are capable of achieving something, you are capable of reaching your highest potential, and you're not like just a useless person within the society.
I think the point that you mentioned about rights and responsibilities, you wouldn't know your responsibilities if you're not educated, and you wouldn't know your rights either. And right now we have so many examples in the world where people are unaware of their rights, and because they're unaware of their rights, they're unable to take those rights. And you know, we tend to, for example, if you come to women, there's a big thing that, you know, in Islam women do not have their rights, and it's not true. We all know Islam promotes women. Islam encourages women. It doesn't stop them from doing anything. everything. But there are examples in some Muslim countries, in Muslim families, where women are not, women are stopped. They are told not to do certain things. And that is because those people who are telling them to stop, they are not educated about Islam.
Yeah.
And the women in those households, they listen to that and they believe, okay, this is Islam, fine. Islam tells me not to do this, I'm not going to do it. Islam tells me not to go out and, earn money if I need to, then maybe that's what I don't need to do. And those women don't have the education. They don't know. So they don't know, they're not aware of their rights of education, for example. So that's why they're not able to go out there and get education. So education is extremely important, like Zaresha mentioned, about not just to, move around in society, but for yourself, to be self-aware and to know what it is that you have been, the opportunities that you have, all the rights that you have, and also what responsibilities you have, how you need to contribute to the society.
Yep, those are really, really good points, and I hope we've
It
talked
was quite clear,
enough about the importance of education. Now we're going to move on to the age. Do you think there is any age limit to when you are to start your education to gain knowledge, or to stop when you should stop gaining knowledge? Is there an age limit to it?
I don't think there's any age limit. I think for parents, for example, if you talk about parents, it's important to make sure, kids, you tell them about education, you tell them the importance of education, so they don't feel forced to, be part of all of this, but rather they want to do it, they understand the importance of it in their life. So obviously for kids, we see, primary school you start, and then secondary school, and there's a whole procedure of it. But honestly, there is no age. You can be 70, 80, I don't know, however old you want, and still learn whatever you want to learn. And you can't stop yourself from learning, because education is not just sitting in a classroom and learning from a book. It's experiences as well. Every day you see people doing something, you learn. Every second, every moment, we're learning something new. So whatever age you're at, you can't stop yourself from learning education. And if you feel, I feel like some people, they might be quite hesitant if they're old, they feel hesitant that they don't want to go and ask, can I I don't know this question, or I don't know this particular thing. They feel embarrassed. So just like, I would like to encourage them right now that you don't have to be embarrassed, because it's your journey. If you don't know something, and the rest of the people are in the room know that thing, it doesn't matter. You don't have to feel embarrassed. You have to improve yourself. Otherwise, those people would know something extra, and you will still be stuck on that particular thing that you did not ask for. So no matter what age you are, you have to take a step and educate yourself, whether that's secular education, or whether that's religious education. Because obviously I feel like in terms of religious education, if you're old, you do kind of feel embarrassed, because there's certain expectation that you need to know a certain amount by this by certain age. But some people, and that can put people off, because you could be old and you might not know the basics. So that you have to remember that it's for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you have to take a step in the right direction for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because you're trying to please him. What people say does not matter. That's as cliche as it sounds.
I definitely agree, and I think she's put it across really well, mashallah. But I definitely like to pick up on the point that she made about embarrassment and being of old age, because I know there are a lot of people who will not have sufficient knowledge, but they won't ask questions, especially to do with Islamic knowledge, because they feel embarrassed, or they feel like, oh, I should know this, but I don't know it, so now I can't ask. But you're not going to know it if you don't ask. And it's just having that courage to ask in the first place. And if you don't want to, if there's a class and you don't want to ask in front of everyone, maybe go ask in person. I'm sure, if someone is teaching you, if they are a true teacher, they will not judge you, or they will not underestimate you just because of your age and because of your question.
I think this is something to be appreciated, actually.
Exactly.
That you're that old, and yet you're so eager to learn, and you want to put in the effort. Because once you're older, you're just like so weak, and you don't have the ability, you don't physically not strong enough to put in the effort into the all of these activities. So if someone is trying that extra bit of the extra bit harder, then you need to acknowledge that.
And when we grow up, we have so many responsibilities, like for me as well. I remember when I was in primary or secondary, like I miss it so much. I don't even work right now, I'm still in education, but I'm like, it was so much better back then, because there was less responsibility, there was less I had to care about. So as you grow up, you have more responsibilities anyway. So if someone is sparing time for education, I feel like we should appreciate them rather than put them down, because of course, when we become adults, main thing is to, provide for our families and, a job and this and that. But along with everything, I think comes education. And if someone is willing to do it, then I think every member of the society can hopefully get something from this today, that, don't discourage them, rather encourage them and motivate them.
Yeah, that's true. And I think when it comes to age, even if you don't realize, you're always learning. So there's no age to it in the sense that when you're 2 years old, you're learning something without being in the procedure of education. So you're picking out words. That's all part of learning. That's all part of education, gaining knowledge.
Yeah.
When you're older, you're learning from experiences. You speak to people. All of that is part of education. You're learning something new. And when it comes to you going through a professional procedure of gaining education, all of a sudden there's that aspect of embarrassment, which you guys have already touched upon already. So yeah, there is no age to it.
There is no age to educate
feel free
yourself.
to go ahead if you do
and
feel
you know,
shy.
like Sister Zarisha was saying, that you should be encouraging others. Honestly, obviously you should be encouraging others, but you should be encouraging yourself. You shouldn't need anyone else to tell you that you need to go and get education. If you feel like you need to educate yourself on a certain topic or on a certain thing, you should be able to tell yourself, oh, I need to go, I need to get this knowledge because I don't have it, no matter how little or small it looks in the eyes of the society. So really, it's you. So you need to work on yourself, you need to improve yourself. If you live your whole life and you just have to tell yourself, and when I'm 90, when I'm 80 or whatever age, and when you die, do you want to die without thinking that, oh, I did what society wanted me to do? Or do you want to die thinking that I improved myself, I was a different person, I was growing every day? So you have to think of it that you don't want to regret anything. Like I always say, regret, being regretful is the worst emotion you can feel, because you can never go back and fix things. So really, you don't want to be regretful, and you want to make yourself grow. You want to develop yourself, no matter how small those steps are.
Yeah, and that's a very good moral and ethical argument. If you look at it under the light of Islam, gaining knowledge is further upon everyone. So if you don't have the knowledge, you're sort of, not fulfilling the Islamic
criteria.
Yeah, I don't want to use the wrong word. You're not fulfilling the Islamic criteria. Thank you for the word. But yeah, so don't ever feel belittled just because you don't have sufficient knowledge and there's an age limitation. I think just go for it.
Yeah.
And also, just because you guys have touched upon it so well, I don't want to repeat it again, but I do want to say that just because you're older, like I'm the oldest out of all the sisters. So those two.
Oh, by the way, we are sisters.
Yeah. So I'm the oldest, so there is this expectation that Askapi knows more.
Yeah. Oh, that's not true.
Yeah, that's not true.
Oh, that sounded a bit rude.
There you go.
What I mean is that you could be any age, and you know it's about how your outlook on society. What did I just say? That's your outlook on society.
That's
and
okay,
how much you know. But obviously, with the experience, I think experience is a thing as well. If you are older, you definitely have more experience, and that experience is very important. So age is that, in that sense, it does matter.
But then at the same time, if somebody doesn't know it, it's okay. I think young people, they need to realize that as well. A lot of the times I see that young people, they seem to like take a mick out of them, or just joke around just because there's such an older person in the class. Be supportive, because it could be that you're lacking on something in your old age and you go and join a class, and then it will come back to you.
Yeah, what goes around comes around. I'd also like to say about what you were mentioning about the oldest person knows the most. That learning, we learn from people who are older than us. They are our teachers generally. But I think you can, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that you can always learn something from people who are younger than you as well. And there's nothing wrong with that. If someone who is younger than you is telling you something, I don't think why we should question it, or we should be like, excuse me, why are you telling me you're younger than me?
This goes back to experiences again. That young person has gone through different experiences to what you exactly.
I think if I give one example, so I was also part of the Light of Ramadan show, which is the kids show from Minhaj Islamic Evening School. So initially, when I was told that I was going to host the show, I was like, I can't do it because I wasn't feeling confident enough, and obviously it's 2 hours long show, so I was like, I wouldn't be able to do it, it's too long. And then the students in my class who were taking part in that show, who were obviously younger than me, they were like, Baji, you can do it, what's wrong? You can do it, come on, if you don't do it, we're not going to do it, you have to do it with us. And honestly, I managed to do that show. The confidence that people come up to me and they say, oh, you were really good, and 50% or 60% of that is basically those kids. They really motivated me. They told me I could do it, and it's because of them that I woke up in the morning and I was like, okay, fine, I'm gonna do it. So it really, you can learn a lot. They can really open up opportunities for you if you listen to them.
Yeah, that's really sweet. And I have to admit, I learn a lot from my younger sisters. I learn a lot from Aisha. I think the other day when we had the topic, we had a discussion on confidence, and she mentioned something about you fighting a battle against you and not your surroundings. surroundings. That was such a good point. And even today, like before coming to the show, I was thinking about it. You know, it's just that point. It's always in my head now that I'm not against society. I'm against myself. I have to be a better version of myself tomorrow. So she's younger than me, but she's taught me something. And that's such a crucial point. And, you know, it was something new for me. And not that I didn't hear it before, but it was just, I don't know. I
think it's your moment of enlightenment when you hear someone say it. You know, sometimes it
definitely.
And a lot of the times Zarisha mentions things as well.
No.
That I do.
I mean, let's not make this a family show now.
Yeah.
But I think,
it's not, I'm just trying to show that you do.
You can learn from whatever age.
Yeah.
So age is not a restriction.
Yeah. So now we're going to move on to a degree, a very stereotypical aspect of gaining education and being qualified. Normally, it's associated with having a certificate or a degree that, oh, this person has gained a master's in something, so they must be more knowledgeable than someone who has just gone through apprenticeship. Or not to say that apprenticeship is bad. It's your personal choice. Whatever you want to do, it's your personal choice. Whatever suits you best, based on your personality.
Yeah.
But you know, normally people tend to say that. So what do you guys think? Do you think gaining a degree is better than, you know, going through a different experience, or does it make you more knowledgeable, having the label of having a master's or label of having a BSc or whatever?
I think society does have an expectation from everyone, and I think that in the eyes of people and in the eyes of those who are elite, a degree and, you know, a higher education, any form of higher education, is seen as better. And I don't want to paint any illustrations or anything, but in terms of the content and in terms of the degree of education, I think having a degree, I just used degree like twice. Having a degree is better. However, having said that, it does not mean that if you have a degree compared to a person who does not, it doesn't mean that you guys that one person is superior or that their personality is better than the other person. I think having that knowledge, if you want to pursue university and if you want to go into that pathway, go for it. I mean, it's a great thing. Everybody loves it. Everybody respects it. But at the same time, if somebody doesn't want to go into higher education and there's something else they want to pursue, apprenticeships or any courses, anything they want to do, I think we should respect that as well. And it doesn't mean that the two people who have gone their separate ways, they are, we should see one as better than the other, or that we should see them as inferior or superior. It just doesn't make sense to me. And what annoys me is that society has an expectation, and sometimes I feel pressurized as well. Like, I feel like I have to meet people's standards. Like, even at school, you know, teachers have an expectation of you, and you feel so pressurized sometimes. And I think it's the worst feeling ever on the person who's going through it, because like, for me, if I didn't get the grade that I really wanted to, I would be traumatized. I'd be shattered. But it doesn't make me a bad person if I didn't get the grade. It just means that, you know, I couldn't do it for some reason. But I don't think it has an impact on personality, but society-wise and wage-wise and job-wise, it does, I think, have an effect. And we shouldn't overlook that.
But does it make you more knowledgeable? Do you think people who have degrees, they're more knowledgeable, they're better people in terms of their knowledge than people who don't have degrees?
Honestly, I think some people, Zarisha, I think she answered the question quite well and she's covered everything. But in terms of what you're saying right now, you could have a degree and you still might not be able to maneuver around society the way, you know, as successfully as someone else is doing it. And you're just thinking that, oh my God, I have a degree, I've educated myself, what's the issue? Why am I not able to? And I think at that point, that's the moment of realization that having a degree is not everything. It could be your experiences that make you better. So someone who not necessarily has a degree, but they've experienced life in such a way that when it comes to certain situations, they are able to react better in a better way than someone who has a degree. So having a degree is not a confirmation. It's not a declaration that, oh, you can go ahead, you're successful now, you're fine, and you're good, you're successful, you've achieved it.
And there are so many people who have like such amazing degrees from the top universities and they're jobless. So that just goes
and
to
there's
show.
so many people who don't have any degrees and they're successful.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think we do need to realize that even if you don't have a degree and you've gone through like a normal experience-based job, so let's say I'm going to talk about accountancy because it's my profession. So there are people who go through the degree procedure and there are people who go through the experience procedure. They stand at the same level. It doesn't matter if you get a degree or not. But actually, if you have a degree, after 3 years, you basically be lost in the world. Because you have no experience experience whatsoever, but the person who's gone through the experience, they know exactly how to perform the job.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's your experience which counts more. And also being able to, let's talk about biology, being able to cram all that information in your head does not mean you're knowledgeable.
Yeah.
It just means you're good at memorizing.
You're good at memorizing.
That's all you're good at.
Yeah.
It doesn't really mean that you adapted.
I saw this thing, sorry, I'm cutting you off, but I saw this thing on Twitter. I don't remember exactly what it said, but it said something like exams just measure how good you are at flicking pages the night before.
Yeah.
And I think I read it and I just could relate so much, because I mean, I shouldn't be, but I am that person who crams the revision night before.
Yeah.
And you know, I was just like, it's so true. And there are other people, you know, in my year who will work so much, you know, they'll work so hard and they'll be working throughout the year, and you know, of course they do really, really well, but you know,
I think you need balance and consistency. So you need a balance of, obviously you can't just with experience, you cannot work. You need the facts and the theories and all of that. You need both of these. So basically experience and the facts. So you need a balance of both, and that's how you will be able to grow better, develop better. And I think, you know, about the stereotypes that you were saying initially, that you feel pressured. Honestly, that pressure is never going to go away, because society, that's how society works. You're going to have to sit yourself down and tell yourself, like I always like to say, you know, there's like, we imagine these pathways and we imagine our peers, people around us, or, you know, are next to us, and we think that we're all running on our pathways together, and that we're running a race, and we have to be better than our cousin, we have to be better than my friend, I have to be better than my class fellow, stuff like that. But you are not on pathways next to each other. You're all on pathways, on your separate pathways, and they're all going in different directions. Your own goals, goals, and your own, you know, what you want to achieve. And the earlier you realize that, the better it is, because if you realize that later, you'll just find yourself in a place where you see, look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, this is not what I wanted to be. I'm not happy. Happiness is the internal satisfaction of your soul, and you wouldn't be feeling that. You might have a car, you might have a house, you might be very rich, and you might be better than your cousin, your family, your friend, but you wouldn't be happy from inside. And the internal happiness is the most important thing in life, in my opinion.
I would also like to say that, you know, with the pressure that we were talking about, I think, of course, most of the times it is very discouraging and you feel very, you know, like, you know, isolated and stuff, but sometimes I feel like it can be very positive, because of course it depends on the type of pressure it is. But I mean, sometimes, you know, I'm going to use the word pressure again, but it's pressure from parents, pressure from your siblings, you know, your brothers and your sisters, and that pressure is good because it motivates you to do work, because we're human and we feel lazy at times. And
I see so much passion on her face for this.
When she says that, it means we need to stop telling her to study.
And everybody knows that we're sisters, so I'm gonna say that when I have exams, I do not like to revise. But these two are always telling me, you know, I get distracted on my phone, or I'll procrastinate or anything, and it's them two who are always, you know, motivating me and telling me, oh, this is what mom and dad are gonna think if you don't get the grade, and this is what's gonna happen. And it's actually really good at motivating me. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna turn my phone off and I'm gonna start revising. So that pressure is sometimes good. And you know, if there are any parents and brothers and sisters listening, you know, I'm not gonna say that learn this from me, because I've got astaghfirullah, I'm not teaching anyone anything here, but it's just a point that works for me, so maybe it'll work for you as well, so try it out maybe.
But people are different. We need to acknowledge that there are people who would go under depression because of this pressure.
Depends on the amount of pressure.
So you really need to be careful. You know, the teachers, they have to be careful in their approach as well, the way they're teaching.
I think that's a whole different topic. That, you know, how teaching should be done.
Now we're going to move on to, we've talked about secular education enough. We're going to move on to Islamic education. Why do you guys think Islamic education is important, and does Islam allow you to gain education? As you are both aware, that a lot of the times we get to see that Islam is associated with women not gaining education, or men not gaining education, or, you know, a lot of the times you see Muslim men and women, they're not as educated as someone who's coming from a Western country or Western background. That is a stereotype. We see a lot of knowledgeable people that that do exist within the Islamic society as well. However, that is something which is associated with us, and we need to tackle that. So
obviously,
let's speak about this.
I think all the stereotypes you've mentioned, I was just going to say that that's a lack of education within itself. That's ignorance within itself. So that's that
out of the way.
But with Islamic knowledge, I don't think you can separate it from the worldly knowledge, because as young Muslims, the way we live, the way we dress up, everything that we do, it goes back to the teachings of Islam, and with the word teachings, of course, associated education.
And if just sorry to cut you off,
No
if
worries.
you were listening, there was a topic discussed which was Deen versus Dunya. by
So you
friends.
can go watch that.
So you can go watch that
After this show.
And this was the conclusion of it, that Deen and Dunya, they're not separate. They go together. Did I just
No,
okay.
sorry. She said
Okay,
something.
you can
Sorry, continue. Okay. Yeah, so I was saying that with Islamic knowledge, a lot of the times I think people, like to separate, okay, so I'm just going to dedicate my life to Islam, or I'm just going to dedicate my life to the worldly knowledge. But I think they both come in hand. With Islamic knowledge, you can't, if you just know about Islam, how are you going to teach the normal people who are, if you become an Islamic scholar, how are you going to be able to relate to people who are there around you? Because you might meet doctors, you might meet engineers, teachers, different types of people. You need to be I think as a teacher you need to understand that everyone will learn in a different way, and you need to make them understand according to their ability. And if you don't have knowledge about the world, if you don't have worldly knowledge, you're going to be unable to share that knowledge that you have about a certain thing, which is Islam.
And so, people don't really relate to you, and people don't really take that into account, because they think that he all he's done or she's done is studied Islamic books the whole of their life. They don't know what's happening in the world, and they don't relate, and it's
obviously
not effective.
that's a misconception.
That is not effective.
That's a misconception, because people tend to think that when you're gaining Islamic knowledge, you are planning on becoming a scholar. You want to preach Islam, you want to become a leader in that sense, you want to become, like I said, a scholar. But in reality, Islamic knowledge is not just to become a scholar. You call yourself Muslims, right? You say you're a follower of Islam. How are you a follower of Islam without learning about Islam? So Islamic learning about Islam is obligatory on everyone, not just to become a scholar, not just to become an imam, or do something in religious field. Obviously you can do that, that's an option, but it's obligatory on every single Muslim. Every single person who calls themselves Muslim, they need to know what it is they're following. You can't just say, oh, I'm Muslim, and just know like little bit about it and just be in society, because in society people are going to ask you questions, and that's what's happening right now. People are asking questions, and our young people do not know answers. And I was at that place that's why we have Al Minhaj Institute, and we have joined Al Minhaj Institute last year, because you're out there in your school, you listen to what people are saying, you have no answers. I'm not going to lie. I felt like I didn't have any answer.
The other
it diverts you away from your religion. You feel like you're not in the right situation.
The other day I was just about to
following
say
it.
the example I was going to give was literally the other day I was speaking to my head teacher, and he started talking to me about Islam and feminism. And he's a Muslim himself, so he was playing the devil. So he was just bringing up arguments that would question. He was basically trying to question me. And I think if I was not part of Minhaj Institute, and if I hadn't been attending classes, because I know we've been I'm sure you guys know as well that we've been focusing on feminism and Islam a lot recently. So when he was questioning me, there were so many examples that were coming into my head, and the fact that I was able to there were still some questions that I did not know the answers to, but
obviously we're still learning.
Exactly. But I felt so much more confident in order. Of course, he's so much more older than me, and he's the head teacher, so there was intimidation, and I was scared to answer his questions. But I think it made me I was so much more confident compared to what I was last year in being able to debate with him, or whatever you can call, or answering his questions. And I think, and he was I'm really impressed as well. I don't want to I don't like to say this, but he was
convinced by your argument.
He was convinced by my argument, and I feel as though I did persuade him in some way, shape or form. So I think linking it back to education, Islamic knowledge is really important, because when you go in the real world, people are going to question you. People are going to ask you lots of things, and you need to be able to answer them, and you need to be able to stand up for your religion and what you believe in, and you cannot do that without education.
Not just for people, for yourself as well.
Exactly.
You need to have the knowledge, and also you can't say, for example, I can't say I'm a doctor and not know what it's all about, and not know about medicine, and not know about all those things. Just like that, you can't say I'm Muslim and I follow Islam without knowing about Islam. And we have young people walking outside, they call themselves Muslim, they have families who are Muslims, and they're just Muslims because they're born into that family. So it's the responsibility of parents to make sure their kids have that knowledge, and not look down at. Often people look down at this knowledge, because they think that it's only to become a scholar, like I said earlier, but it's not.
A lot of money in the future. There is no money associated.
It's
with
not
it,
for money. You have to gain it for
your
your own
personal
benefit, for your
development.
own satisfaction. You can't be worshipping to a Lord and not know about that Lord.
Yeah.
So to conclude this particular question, education, Islamic knowledge is important because it's obligatory. Otherwise, what are you following? You're
Yeah.
lost in life. You're saying I'm Muslim, you have no knowledge about Islam. So you're in a completely you're a different person. You're just labeling yourself as Muslim and you
Allah
don't know.
subhanahu wa ta'ala stresses the importance of gaining knowledge over and over again. As
Yeah.
we all know, the very first thing that was reviewed
Yeah.
was about gaining education. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says iqra, which means to read. So
Prophet
the
Muhammad
encouraging-
sallallahu alaihi wasallam was told to read basically
he
in
was
that
told to-
situation.
Yeah, so the encouragement of gaining knowledge again. So time and time again, you see in a lot of hadith and also in the Quran, you see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they're encouraging us over and over again to gain knowledge. And this links into the next question. So
Yeah.
very nicely actually. Does Islam only tell us to educate our boys, our sons, and not daughters?
I think we've kind of discussed it earlier as well.
We're sitting
Yeah.
here and discussing this, and I think that's sufficient to answer the
Yeah,
question.
we're all girls and we all attend. We have you, like you said, you're doing accountancy. That's
Yeah.
what I'm doing. Zarisha is in A levels as well, and at the same time we are part of Al Minhaj Institute and we're doing that. So
In Al Minhaj Institute, there is more girls than boys.
yeah, you can join our classes and you'll you'll be able to see it with your own eyes.
Witness
There'll
it.
be
And
evidence.
also, every time Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the importance of gaining education, he doesn't specify men
Yeah.
with it. He says that it's further upon everyone. Go and gain knowledge, even if you have to go China. So all of these things, they're not specified with men only.
Yeah, I think that's a very common proverb used that, even if you have to go as far
Yeah.
as China, you should go. Because during the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, going to China was impossible
Yeah.
because of transport issues and stuff. So the fact that he said it to that extent shows how important it is to get education. And if you look at the women in Islam, for example, Hazrat Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, she was educated. She, 50% of the ahadith, she has narrated them. So without her, we wouldn't even have the ahadith that we read today and we learn from and we move around in society by learning from them. So she was an expert in that, in terms of
Yeah.
that. She was also an expert in medical science and she used to help people out in that sense. She used to write poetry as well. So she was very educated, very she was very educated and people used to come to her and they wanted
Gain
to learn
knowledge
from
as
her.
well.
Yeah. So if it wasn't allowed for women, why would Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi
Allow
wasallam's
his-
wife
No.
would be doing that, and why would people be coming to her and accepting it who were Muslim, coming and learning from her?
Yeah, but
Yeah,
we do
definitely.
see nowadays that a lot of countries, they don't allow, even now it's very unfortunate, a lot of the countries have this thing in them that Muslim women shouldn't go to schools. And I think personally, I feel like it's also because those men, I'm not talking about everybody, so
Yeah.
it's not to generalize, but some specific men, they do feel insecure that maybe that control that they have over the family, or that control that they have over a certain area, they will lose it if women they start to gain education and they start to become as capable as them. But I feel that they're actually harming themselves by doing that.
Yeah.
Because as we've discussed in the class before, that the first university of a child is the mother's lap.
Yeah.
So if the mother is not educated, she's not going to be able to deliver that knowledge and give that confidence. As we've talked about this before, that mothers have to instill that confidence within their children.
Yeah.
She won't be able to deliver that to even to the son. We're not even
Yeah.
talking about the daughters here. They don't even have a chance, right?
Yeah.
So even to the sons, she won't be able to deliver that to the son as well. So they won't develop, they won't progress through their life. They would just be stuck in that situation.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's very unfortunate, that a lot of people, there are still girls around
Yeah.
the globe who are deprived of education.
Yeah.
It's a very sad reality, but I think of course we should try to reduce that and whatever. But at the same time, I think everybody should play their part in trying to help the situation.
Yeah.
Because even us, of course, we're not part of the government or anything, so we can't, launch education programs for them. But what we can do is educate ourselves and by
And those around us.
Exactly. And if we're doing that, then we're helping the situation in the long run, because if we're educated, then we can, perhaps, inshallah, if we're successful and whatever, then we can also, go to
Use
these
our platform.
Yeah, use our platform, go to these places and, deliver something, if not a lot. So I just wanted to pick up on the point that, of course, it's very unfortunate, but I think
we have
see it as
everybody
the
has
glass.
to take responsibility, and
Yeah.
it's not a responsibility for or like a responsibility for the government only. We all have to stand up for our
Yeah.
kids and our women and our daughters and sisters that are not gaining education due to unfortunate circumstances. So yeah, that's that.
I'm sorry to, I just wanted to add a point that people, in families around the world, or Muslim people, as we
Yeah.
like, the media says, they are not giving right to the women to get education, and like we said earlier, they're not giving that right because they're not educated themselves. So this whole issue whether boys have the right to education and women don't, girls don't, that is, people have that issue in their mind, that they think that it's an issue because they are lacking education.
Yeah.
So if they had that education, they wouldn't even think it's an issue, because it's not an issue, because according to Islam, women have right to education. And if you think it's an issue, it's not an issue. You're unaware of what Islam teaches, so you need to go and educate yourself, like the topic
Yeah.
says.
Yeah.
So I think earlier on when we were discussing Aisha again, so she was mentioning this, that a lot of the times we see that the oldest person in the house, especially in countries like Pakistan, Bangladesh, or like Asian countries, we see that men, they tend to think that they have all the knowledge, and they try to control everybody within that box, and they think that they have the most knowledge, so they are expected to have the most knowledge.
Yeah.
Maybe they're
It's
not
a lot
doing
of pressure for boys as well.
pressure for them
Yeah.
as well, so they feel like they have that expectation towards them, so they have to fulfill that.
Yeah.
And hence they try to like keep everyone under control by not allowing them to gain education or to grasp those opportunities that are
Yeah.
there for them. So for them, even they're not educated enough, hence they're not able to deliver it to the generations
Yeah.
that are there.
Yeah, I think I would like to add on to that point that sometimes, of course, they do it consciously, but sometimes they might even do it subconsciously.
Yeah.
Like they don't intend to. There are a lot of people
I
out there
agree.
who, or men. I'll be specific out there who want, believe in equality and stuff, but when they're in the situation, and when there's a female who is perhaps higher in something in comparison to
Yeah.
them, I feel as though I have seen it myself. Like if a female is higher than them, they feel the need to prove them wrong, or they feel the need to do
Yeah.
something
So
to
basically,
go
they
higher.
don't preach what they practice.
Yeah, so
I mean, they
think
don't practice what they preach.
whilst
I
we're
just said
stressing
that
the
as well.
importance of education for women, and we're saying that women should go out and educate themselves, I'd also like to say that the men need to be a bit more like
Open-minded.
yeah, thoughtful about what
And this
they're
isn't
doing.
an issue of Islam,
Yeah.
because I don't know, for some reason
societal
people think
issue.
it's an issue in
Social.
society. Even if you look at these countries, Western countries, women still don't have rights. Like there
Yeah.
are things that for example, equal pay. They're still struggling with it right now.
Yeah, United Kingdom, we are one of the leading countries.
Yeah.
And we're struggling with equal pay right now.
So here,
And I think I was
do-
reading yesterday or today in I don't know, it was like 100 years. I don't know if it's today or yesterday. 100 years that women they were celebrating 100 years of women given
was
the right to
yesterday.
it was yesterday, given the right to vote. And we're still, even these societies, they are moving on slowly. So it hasn't been that long that they have been given the right to vote, because women have existed from the beginning of when their life began.
Yeah.
So
but if you
they only
think
got the
about
right
Islam,
100 years
Islam
ago.
gave all these rights to women so many years ago, 14,000 years ago.
definitely.
So all of these things that are associated with Islam, they're not actually to do
Part
with
of
Islam.
Islam. So
is
that's lack
just,
of education.
Given that image that Islam doesn't allow women to gain
Yeah.
education and all that, but it's nothing to do with Islam. It's a social issue. And here I do want to give a shout out to my dad. Because I feel like he's that one man who I adore and look up to.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times I am a human being, so I do make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times I'm not the best daughter, but I do see him as my
Because
role
that's me.
model. I do see him as a role
Excuse
model.
me.
I feel like he is like the nicest human being
Yeah.
that I have ever met.
He's broken so many stereotypes.
Yeah.
So considering the family that he belonged to, or he's obviously from a religious background, so he's an imam and stuff like that. So people, there's so many stereotypes. You think that an imam, he wouldn't let his daughter go out and talk like this and stuff
Yeah.
like, and all of this. So obviously he's broken so many stereotypes, and it's because he educated us that we are able to come out here and talk, and whatever we achieve is because of the education that he's provided.
Definitely.
And he
And
always says that education is something that that he's proud of.
Yeah.
He's provided us education, and he's only proud of that particular thing. So rather than leaving property for your kids, you should leave them educated in
Education.
society.
Yeah, that's
and
what
also
he
I
says.
want to those men who think that if they don't keep their daughters under control and deprive them of education, they will always be there listening to them.
Before we continue, I think you guys have mentioned dad. I don't want to make this a family show, but I think at the same time, mum has also been, putting in the effort.
Obviously,
but
it's 50-50.
Yeah, I think to sum up the family thing that we're doing, I think both mum and dad, we would not be here without them. I think everything that we do as kids, anything that I've ever done, so I've done hifz. That is because of my dad. If he didn't motivate me, and my mum was my teacher. If she wasn't there, I wouldn't have done it. And everything that we do is because of them. So thank you, mum and dad. We may continue.
And he doesn't only encourage you to do hifz, he also encourages you to gain secular education. He's got me to get involved in politics. He's got me to become like a accountant. So I'm involved in religious and secular education.
We didn't want to come out here and talk. He told us to come here and use this platform.
I complained so much. I was like, Dad, I don't want to go.
I was like, the whole day I was so moody. I was like, why? I don't want to do this.
So just to conclude it, for the people who think that they have to keep their daughters under control, you know what? You have a live example in front of you. If you educate your daughters, they would appreciate you, and they will realize that you are very important to them, and you played a massive role in their life, and you shaped their future in a good way. So they will actually appreciate you more if you educate them, rather than keeping them under control and keeping them deprived, because they will always have that thinking going on in their head that, oh, my dad didn't let me do this, my dad didn't let me do that. But if you let your daughters get all those opportunities and be the best of themselves, keeping within the boundaries of Islam, then of course they would appreciate you more. So depriving someone of education is not going to give you the power.
I think as Muslims, it's a responsibility to educate not just our kids, but also help educate all the young people around us as well. And I think at this point I would like to say that Ramadan is coming to an end, so obviously this is Ramadan FM 2018, so after Ramadan it's going to change, so it's not going to be there. But fortunately we have been given the full-time license, so that means that even after Ramadan you can hear us, and there'll be obviously so many shows. So for this radio to continue even after Ramadan, we have people, we have teachers who are educating everyone, and we have experience. So all the shows, they are ready, everyone's ready to take part. The only issue is that we are lacking on some equipment, so we need we have the most basic equipment right now, so we need more equipment. So just for that we need £50,000, and obviously throughout the month of Ramadan, there are, in all the shows, they have been asking for donations, and we would also like to do that, because I feel like it's such a big cause, and if you have your input into it, you're going to be so proud of it to see the outcome. When you see the outcome, you're going to be so proud of it. So you're providing a platform for your kids to gain education as well as be able to deliver that education. So for example, if Al-Minhaj Institute is obviously there, and if we just learn there, we'll have the knowledge, but we wouldn't know how to talk about it, how to deliver it. And we're able to talk about it because we've been given this platform, this radio. So we are thankful, and our families are thankful. Just like that, if you want to educate your kids and you want them to have the confidence to deliver that education, whether that's religious education, I think, I'm sure you've been noticing that on Radio Ramadan we don't just talk about Islamic things, we also talk about how society works, because that's also part of Islam, how society works, your everyday issues in society. So by donating, you're actually having your input into a very big cause, and you would be very proud of the outcome that you'll see. So we'd really encourage everyone, because this is our last show, so if you've learned anything, if you want to it's really important to help others, help spread the education. That's what Prophet Muhammad has done. He's educated everyone, and that's how we know about Islam. So we really have to have our input into it, and I would like everyone to please donate as much as you can. You don't have to, obviously we are looking for, I think, 500 people giving £100. But obviously you can donate as much as you want to, and obviously we'll be very thankful. And you're doing it for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You are doing it because you want the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be around, and you want it to be spread to everyone, basically. So you're doing it for that sake, for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
You mentioned the importance of education so nicely that it's reminded me of a hadith. I remember last night when we were discussing this hadith where Allah was it a hadith or was it the verse of the Quran? I can't remember exactly. Where it said that there are 3 things that will stay with you even after you die, and one of them is your charity that you give. The second one was your education, and third one I can't remember off the top of my head. I think I wrote it down, but I can't remember. But it said education. It's mentioned both of them. I think education and donations. Sorry?
I said I think it's a hadith if I'm not wrong, but obviously I
It's a
can be wrong. I'm still a
Yeah,
student.
it is a hadith. Actually, it is a hadith. Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember now.
Okay.
It's definitely a hadith.
Yeah.
So it was mentioned. So both of those things that we've talked about today, they have been mentioned. That they will go with you after you're dead. So after you passed away, that is a very bad word there.
It's giving us a shock.
Yeah. So after you've gone or passed away or not here present in this world, I remember the third one now actually.
Yeah.
Your good awlad, good children.
Yeah.
And
which is
if
what
they-
we touched upon as well.
yeah, if they pray for you after you're not here, they pray for you, they make dua for you, they do khatam, and they read verses of the Quran, and they send the reward of that to you. These three things, so I'll repeat them: charity, good awlad, good children, and number 3 was education. These three things, they will go with you, and these are the things that are not temporary.
Yeah.
If you're investing in these three, they're not temporary. They're not
Yeah.
for this world only. They're for your hereafter as well.
Yeah.
So if you can afford to, even if it is £10, even if
Yeah.
it is £5,
Even if it's £1.
even if it's £1, yeah, you know what, go ahead and give it a start. Maybe you donating £1 will encourage someone else around you to encourage £2, and
Yeah.
that way we can build up the money and get the equipment that we need.
Inshallah.
And inshallah, this will be a great platform for all the people in this area and anyone who wants to take part to come and deliver, like I said earlier. So
Yeah.
it's not just for us, it's for everyone, all the students. We want young people to be involved. We want them to talk about what they want to talk about. So they need a platform where they can talk freely without having that restriction of what I need
Yeah.
to say certain things, I'm allowed to say certain things, whatever they want to say in terms of society and Islam.
We are coming to the end of the show.
Yeah.
So
That went quite fast.
that was really fast, and I do want to talk about it more because I have more points highlighted. I've got the bullet points. I want to discuss more, but
Yeah.
unfortunately this is the
Well,
end
we'll
of
be
the
able to discuss those points later or even after Ramadan if we get our donations and if we get £50,000 and we have the equipment. We'll carry on and we'll discuss rest of the bullet points that you've written. Inshallah.
So just to conclude, I do want messages from you guys because of course you are students, you're learning, you're gaining education, and most importantly you're involved in secular and religious education, and I think that's an issue, and we've talked about it many times.
It's issue because people think it's not possible, but
Yeah,
gaining both knowledges is not an issue.
It's not
Yeah,
impossible.
phrasing
You
is-
can do it if you have great teachers like us. So
Yeah.
shout out to Allama Zishan Sahab.
Yeah.
And if you have great parents like mine.
So you're saying basically we have the best of both worlds.
Yeah, no, I think she's made a really good point. Of course, parents, they're
Are very
everything.
important. So all the
yeah,
parents
really
listening,
good.
they really have to make sure that their
Yeah.
kids are getting, not just going to primary school, but they're also going to mosque, they're also getting knowledge, and keep an eye on it, see what it is that they're learning and make sure that
Yeah.
what they're learning is accurate knowledge, so they're not misled by anyone.
Yeah.
And also parents, and you mentioned teachers as well. I think Allama Zishan Sahab, he hates to hear it when we
Get
compliment him.
compliments, yeah.
But
Yeah.
today is the final show, so I
So
think
we have to
Allama Sahab
compliment
thoda sa
him.
banta hai. That without him, without his duas
wouldn't
and
be
without
here.
his confidence, we would not have been able to do any of this. The way he's been motivating us, and he works so hard for the classes as well. And I'm sure you guys would agree
Yeah.
that
And, he stands there for like 4 hours straight.
Yeah.
And
he talks
I
and
think
talks and
he's a
talks.
great teacher because
Absolutely
he doesn't tell
amazing.
us that, you're going to have exams. Obviously, we're going to have exams for this, but he never says, whenever we talk about exam, what I've noticed is that his next sentence, after talking about exam, his next sentence is that, guys, the grades, they're not everything. That's not what you're
Yeah.
working for. What you're working for is the
What a
pleasure of Allah
beautiful thing.
subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yeah.
So the way he teaches, he's not telling us to, do this because we want to get good grades. Obviously, that comes with it if you focus and stuff, but he tells us, he constantly reminds us that we are here to get the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the way he teaches is amazing. I think even teachers, they need to learn from
Yeah.
him how to teach because
Yeah,
his
he's so
approach
good.
is amazing. Like
and I do want to say that it is also, he's a really good person, and it's also because he's learnt through Minhaj al-Quran.
Yeah.
So Minhaj al-Quran has had that impact on him
so
as a
his
person.
teachers and his parents, they have led him in such a nice way that
Yeah.
this is the result. Basically, that's what we're trying to say, that if you have good teachers,
Yeah.
good parents, this is the result. You'll have people in society, young people in society, who become good teachers, they become good leaders, and they lead people. And I think Minhajul Quran, if you have any idara near your, where you live, Minhajul Quran, you can go and talk about Al Minhaj Institute, and it could be any age. You can send, I think you have to be 16 though, 16 plus, something like that, 15 plus.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Just
Yeah.
have a word with someone.
GCSEs. So basically have a word with someone and try to make sure that your kids, they are part of Al Minhaj Institute, so they have the knowledge of Islam, and not just, and it's not, honestly, it's not a big...
If your child is younger, you can always join other classes.
Other classes,
There's Sunday
yeah.
school, which is for everyone.
Everyone.
Up to
So many
16.
opportunities, yeah.
So yeah, just come in, have a chat, and get to know what is there for
What
your kids.
opportunities are there?
Yeah, and try to grasp those. You know, all of these are for you, and even if you have to pay a little bit of money for that, you know, again, you're investing into your hereafter,
Yeah.
as well as this dunya.
Yeah.
So just quickly, just concluding now, we have gone over time. What message would you like to give to the students of unis and the colleges, people who seem to think that, oh, someone who's becoming a doctor or someone who's becoming an accountant or someone who's, you know,
Yeah.
into the worldly life,
Yeah.
they seem to see it as like something which is impossible. They can't have the both. So what is your message as
I
a
think,
person? I want to get opinions, so it's
Yeah.
not, don't base it on general ideas.
Yeah.
What do you feel? Do you think it's been hard for you to maintain the balance? Do you think, what advice would you give
More
them?
than a message, I would like to give them a reminder, because they are living a life which is, like I said, they're calling themselves Muslims and they're following Islam, but they're not actually following Islam because they know nothing about Islam. So it's okay to not know, but it's also important to take steps to educate yourself and to fill that gap. It's not okay to not fill that gap. So you have to go out there and fill that gap. And personally, I feel like, okay, doing both Islamic education and secular education, it's not difficult.
It's not
In
difficult.
fact, the more I learn about Islam, the more I want to do it, because my mind, I get to know about my Lord, I get to know about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I get to know the love of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I get to know how beautiful life, he tried to create it for us, how
you
simple
get to know
things
your
are.
rights. You get to know your rights within the Islamic culture.
Yeah, so
your
basically
inheritance law, for example, we learn about. That's a very good example, because a lot of the times, I've seen that women, they question the fact that why is it that women are only allowed half and men are allowed double the amount. So if you have that question in your head, you would tend to just be like, maybe Islam is not fair with me because I'm a woman. But if you think about if you gain the wisdom behind it, and that is only possible through joining these classes, through going out and gaining these opportunities. And I will just mention the answer now, because otherwise you'll just be thinking, oh, why did she do a teaser there? So the answer to that is because...
Actually, I think you should leave it as a teaser, because they should go and educate themselves
Also,
and
I
get to know
think
the answer.
Baji made a really good point about, how when you gain Islamic knowledge, it develops your love.
Yeah.
I think from a very young age,
sorry to cut you off. Let her finish off, because we don't have time.
Sorry.
And then quickly
Please
go into
continue.
you.
Oh yeah, so I was saying that the more you get to learn about Islam, the more you want to know about Islam. So it's not difficult at all. And anytime that you feel like you're struggling a little bit, you have these amazing teachers at Al Minhaj Institute that they motivate you, they inspire you, so you don't feel like leaving. You feel like continuing. You want to be committed. And honestly, you need to remember your ultimate purpose. When you're in your grave, what's going to help you? What's going to help you? It's your Islamic knowledge. It's your deed. It's how much you've struggled. So deen is not just praying your namaz, just giving charity. Obviously that's important, but it's also to learn about Islam. Even I think Alama Sahab always tells us in class that you coming here and you sitting here and learning, you're also getting sawab for this. You're also getting rewards for this. So even in the whole process of it, when you're at home, you're learning your girdans and all those things in surf and nahaf, you're actually getting rewards for doing that. So that's like an ibadat in itself. So I think people who my message is to all the young people is to get to know your religion. Even if you feel like, oh, you don't know the basics, it's fine. Go ahead and teach yourself. You're doing it for yourself. It's your journey, like I said earlier. And you don't want to stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment and you have nothing to say because you haven't done anything for him in this world, and you've just lived for the world, which is obviously temporary and it's not real. It's all just an illusion.
When all of this beauty, sorry I keep cutting you off, but when all of this beauty, or your young age is gone and you're old, and then you will regret all this. And as Aisha Baji has very beautifully mentioned before, that having the feeling of regret is very bad because you cannot change it. So Aisha, if you could conclude really, really quickly, because we need to move on.
I think I've got nothing to say. That's it. That's all I wanted to say. That you don't want to be embarrassed in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment, and in your own eyes. If you're embarrassed in front of others, you can tell yourself to it's okay, you'll improve. But if you're embarrassed in front of your own eyes, no one can help you because you've embarrassed yourself. So if you don't want to embarrass yourself, you really have to, even if you don't know the basics, you still have to start. For example, if you don't know your bismillah, it's fine. Okay, it's fine. You're young. There's nothing to be scared
Yeah.
about. You need to go and learn it.
That's
Simple
true.
as that.
That's
because
true.
it's your journey. You're gonna be in your grave by yourself, like I keep on saying.
Why do you choose
so
to
you
stay
need to
in
go.
that discomfort of not knowing?
Not knowing, yeah. So you need to
Yeah.
comfort yourself. Forget about what people think. So please go, all the young people, anyone who's listening, not just young people, even old people who feel like they need to get the knowledge of Islam, because
Yeah.
it's obligatory on everyone. If you're in this world living without the knowledge of Islam, that's not good enough. You need to know about your religion. So even old people, everyone who's listening, all the Muslims, they need to know their deen, they need to know Islam, and they need to have the accurate knowledge of Islam.
And you know, from all the hard work that has been put into these shows, I think I would like to say that if you can't donate money, that's okay, because maybe you're 10 years old or 11 years old, you don't have money to donate.
Yeah.
I want you to go out and educate yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do that instead. And this is for yourself. You're not doing it for anyone. You're doing it for yourself. Go and do that. And this is our request, a very humble request
Yeah.
to you guys.
Because
Sister
message.
Zarisha,
Oh,
would you like
no.
to repeat the question?
No,
or-
that
Yeah,
I
okay.
think she summed it up really well.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else to add on. Just gonna say that with the love point again, that came into my head was that if you don't love something, if you're not passionate about it, you're not going to be encouraged to learn about it. So I think this is something for the parents that I would like to say is that from a very young age, of course, with secular education, we are it's a legal requirement. We go and educate ourselves, but with Islamic knowledge, I think instilling that love within your kids about deen from a very young age is very important, because if they don't develop it at a young age, it's going to be difficult for them, because you can't just expect a child to go and educate themselves and know about Islam. I think parents need to support their children with that, and please educate yourselves and remember us in your duas. May Allah Ta'ala give us beneficial knowledge. And in the end, lastly, once again, a very massive thank you from all of us, not just us three, from all of the students, to Allama Zishan Saab for all
giving
his
us
efforts
the confidence
and everything that he does. May Allah Ta'ala bless him as well.
Ameen.
So thank you very much. That's it.
And also thanks to all the people who've been working behind the scenes. Brother Usman, who's been
Brother
helping us with
Ismail,
all
definitely.
how to
teaching us the technical
controls and
stuff.
stuff. So and also just being there, every day. I think it's a team effort. Everyone does it together, and otherwise it wouldn't have been possible. And we want more and more people, all the young people listening, anyone listening, we want you to be part of it as well. And that's why we want you to donate and help us out, so that we can, this can go on even after Ramadan.
Yeah. For me, I do have a message for everyone. So I want to say that now that you've seen so many students coming in through Students of Knowledge representing Al Minhaj Institute, we're not paid for this. You know? It's very important for you to recognize that none of us are paid for this. We haven't taken a single penny for this. And we're doing it because we've gained the knowledge and we feel so passionate about it, and we want to deliver that to you. And we don't want our brothers and sisters to, lack on this opportunity. We want all of you, no matter what age you are, I want to remind you again that in our class, we have people, I don't know
different
the exact
ages.
age, but we have very older people, like people of older age as well, and people of younger age. I do not want to mention the age because they're all young.
No,
like
but
us.
I think the question is how young you are rather than how old
true.
old you are.
So no matter how old you are, just come and join, and any problem you have, come and discuss, because Minhajul Quran is not just a mosque. It's a platform where you can come and discuss any issue you have, social issue, any issue at all. Come and speak to somebody. There will always be someone there.
And it's a cause, it's a global
we've
cause.
been complimenting it a lot, so I don't want people to think that
We're like
we're promoting it just
It's not.
because
We're not
of
getting money
because
for
we
this.
attend the classes. I mean, we only joined recently, we
started last year.
It's only been a year
End of last year.
We've been part of the institution, so this is genuine feedback, and it's joining the classes has made a lot of difference to my life. So if you have time, then please do.
Definitely. I think me personally, I feel a lot more confident in speaking, talking about my religion, talking about what Islam teaches, and even social issues like my hijab. Why do I wear my hijab? Why is it so important to me? Issues like terrorism. I'm able to tackle those. I'm able to answer the questions, and I think that's so crucial.
Even if you're not able to answer, you're able to ask those questions, and you have a place where you can get the answers.
And if you don't have that understanding, again, I want to go back to the same point that you'll be influenced by the wrong groups very easily.
Very easily.
Hence, it's so important for you to come out, step out of your house, and take these opportunities. And
Yeah.
again, we're not advertising in the sense that we're getting any money from it.
Yeah.
It's not a paid job that we're doing. We're doing it only for the
Because
sake
we
of,
wanted to
sake
do
of
it.
Allah
We
subhanahu
wanted to
wa
come
ta'ala.
here and we wanted to
Yeah,
do
no
it.
makhan, everything's from the dil, so
Yeah.
please accept
So
it.
we're doing it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and because we want you guys, all our brothers and sisters, to enter paradise with us hand in hand.
Yeah, inshallah.
To benefit
inshallah.
as we are doing, so we want everyone to take part. So
Inshallah.
that's it for today,
So
right?
that's it for
Eid Mubarak
today.
in advance.
Eid
Thank
Mubarak
you
and
all of
Zindagi
you.
rahi to inshallah dobara mulaqat hogi. Please
Inshallah.
remember us in your duas.
Yeah, everyone,
Yeah.
we should all make dua for each other. And even after Ramadan, the spirit needs to be there. We need to be worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I always like to say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is still there. Your deeds are still being accounted.
exactly.
So you have to, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is still there. So you are still Muslim. Islam is still there. So you have to make sure that you do your 100% in terms of your religion.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's it from us. So, Assalamu alaikum wa
Rahmatullahi
rahmatullahi
wa
wa
barakatuh.
Barakatuhu. Khudafis.